Hey there, everybody. Well, this has been fun already, and we haven't even been on. I always loved, I like that 10 minutes before, before we get going, where I see everybody start to join in, and it's just kind of fun. So thank you guys for making us laugh. Um, yeah, Alan, I don't think he's ever been so cute. Who was it? Was it Lucy? Who was it? Called him
Hose.
a hose. So cute, so funny. Okay, so anyway, that was fun. It is a beautiful day here in Michigan. I saw somebody posted a comment out there about how gorgeous and sunny it is here, and it is. I've seen it from indoors, but it is gorgeous. So today we are in a field of sunflowers. When I came upstairs to work in the studio today, I didn't know what I was going to be working with, and I saw my card markers sitting on the counter. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to paint something. I actually have a little bit of a headache today, so I thought, I'm just going to paint. I just want to relax and paint. So that's what I did. I got out my watercolors, and I created a fun little fall kind of a theme card. And so we're going to see how it turns out, because I only started it, and so I have to finish it. So welcome, everybody. Today is, Alan's got Thursday up there, so I know what day it is. And there's so many people here already. Gosh, you guys are so fantastic. Shirley is here, Jen Ray, Beth Ballone, Suzanne, Patricia Dunbar, Linda White, Sue D. Who else is here? I know I saw Liz out there. Blanca's here, Sheila Fisher, so many people. Cindy, Margaret Chapman, Judy Markowitz, Rhonda, so many people. It's so great. Thank you guys. We absolutely love it. Judy's asking a question. What is the difference between card markers and Tombow or Zig? If I'm not so sure about the Tombow markers that you're referring to. I don't know if there's different Tombow markers or not. There are several different. I think Zig has several different markers. But if we're talking about watercolors, then they're all watercolor markers. They're liquid watercolors, but they are going to be different in terms of how intense the colors are. Their pigmentation and how well they're going to work, because they all have a different chemical makeup. It's not just water and and color. The color that's added in there, they're all going to be unique. And so some of them may work better than others, and depending on the paper that you use, you may yield different results. But I really, really, really love the card markers. I've tried several different watercolors, and I actually do have some of the Zig watercolor markers, and to be honest with you, I didn't have great success with mine. I didn't get them to, and I tried several different papers. I didn't get them to move on the paper as well as I would like, and the colors weren't as intense for me. So when I tried out the car and brush markers, that's what I fell in love with, and that was what I decided to carry in the store, and that's really kind of become my go-to. So it's my preference, but that doesn't mean that the others aren't any good, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't use what you already have. So, and then you don't even have to use a watercolor marker. You can use those little watercolor, palettes, and whatever you want. It can be whatever your preference is and whatever you have. So let me see. I want to show you guys what I'm going to be working with today. I feel everything's like discombobulated. I'm going to switch my camera real quick so that we can see what's going on. Okay, I think I need to reduce, get rid of some of that brightness a bit. Okay, so this is going to be the star of my show today. This is a Polka Doodles stamp. This actually has stamps and dies together in this pack. We actually have 3 different versions of these, 3 different packs. So I'm going to use the Bloomin' Bugs. These are actually, it's a clear stamp. This is an acrylic stamp on the inside. It's not photopolymer. It is acrylic, so it's gonna be different, feel different than other stamp sets of ours that you may have. This is what it looks like when you open up this really, really sweet little folder. So you get your dies in here, and you get your stamps in here. I already have a mask in the background there, but that doesn't come with it, and I'm going to be talking about masking today. So that's the Bloomin' Bugs. Oh, and it comes with several different little flowers and little bugs in there, and you can create your own custom flowers. This is not any particular flower. It's just kind of a make-believe flower. Now this is the Daisy Daisies. This one has, I'm trying to remember what kind of stamps. I think these are rubber stamps in here. I'm not really sure right now. Huh?
Open it up. We only have 6 of those left.
Oh, we only have 6 of this one left?
Yes.
Okay. So we only have 6 of the Daisy Daisies left.
And then there's a Daisy Daisy paper.
And then we have a Daisy Daisy paper. Okay, which coordinates. You can see the you can see one of the patterns in the background. But again, this is going to come with your stamps and with your dies. For some reason, I think this one is a rubber stamp, and I think this one might be rubber too. This is Eleganza. Again, it's a made-up flower. But you can mix and match, and you can create your own floral arrangements with this, and it comes with the dies inside, and of course it has its own little storage pocket folder with it as well. So we're going to be doing some masking also, and in the store under the paper tab that we have in the store, you will see our LDRS Creative Stamping Mask Paper, and you get 12 sheets in here. This is one that you can see I've already cut into it. You actually get full sheets in there, but I'm going to show you what masking is all about. When we talk about masking with stencils, it's a little bit different than when we're working with stamps. The other thing that I ended up pulling was our Slimline Scallop die, and then I've decided to grab our Love and Bloom, this stamp set, because I wanted to use that Have a Lovely Day sentiment on there. And then the last thing is I grabbed our big old 12 by 12 paper pack, Sweet Sensations. This is one of our double-sided paper packs. So when you see the front of this, when you see these 2 papers next to each other on the pack, these are the 2 that are going to be back to back. So you'll have the circles with these diagonal stripes back to back on a sheet. You'll have the stripes with the floral on the other side, and so on. And I ended up working with, this is my favorite, this little black and white gingham. So that's everything that we're going to be working with. And I want to show you where we are, or where I am with things. Now, my tools that I've got my water here. This is my little tulip cup with my water. I've got my Raven ink pad. So my hybrid inks I can use, you've seen me use them with several different mediums. One of the things I can do is I can use these with my watercolor paints. So I can stamp with this, and I can color with watercolors. So we're going to be doing that. What else do I have going on here? Oh, because I'm going to be watercoloring, I always have a little towel with me, because I like to brush off any excess water and paint on my little towel. Judy is saying, is Polka Doodles an older line or a separate line? Polka Doodles is its own company. And Nikki Hall, the fabulous Nikki Hall, is the owner and the artist of Polka Doodles. She's in England, and she and I are fantastic friends. She actually does some custom illustration for us. So we from time to time we'll do some custom designs, like Winnie, for example. We have like Winnie stamps and Holly and some other things. You will only see those at LDRS. So let me show you what I've got going on here. Let me put these aside. This is what I started working with. All right, I wanted to show you this last. I didn't want to show you this first. But I turned it over, and here it is. So this is what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to finish painting this for you. And but I want to show you first how I ended up stamping this. So let me get my water out of the way here. Actually, let me move this over here. I know that's going to end up on my computer, and that's just going to be bad news. It's going to be a bad news bear. All right, so this was cut with my scalloped rectangle slimline die. I cut this card base with the largest die in this set, and I cut it out of watercolor paper. My favorite watercolor paper to use when I'm working with my card markers is the Fabriano. I love Fabriano papers. So I have several different ones depending on what I'm working with. But this is the cold press, and this is my favorite one to use when I'm working with the Caran markers. Now cold press is going to give you a little bit of a bumpy texture, but and I usually shy away from that because some of the companies, I mean, they're so bumpy you can't even stamp on them. It's terrible. But this Fabriano, this particular one, has very, very small kind of a, you know, bumpiness to it. So it's not, it doesn't really impact the stamping that much. So we're going to show you that. But I want to show you first about masking, if you're not familiar with it already. Now, in here, we have the full sheets of the mask paper. So you're going to be able to get a lot of different masks out of this. Let me move this out of the way. Now, when you look at this paper, when you pull it out of the pack, one side is going to be a little bit glossy and shiny. I don't know if it's catching on the camera or not. But you can definitely see the difference when it's in your hand. And the other side is going to be like matte. And sorry about my hands. My fingernails look terrible, but I've been busy. You're going to stamp on the matte side. So I'm going to go ahead and get I'm only going to work with 2 of the stamps in here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out of here. And I want the largest one. Now these are acrylic. They are not photopolymer, so they're a little bit thinner, but they're still going to stamp beautifully. I only want the largest one. And then the other stamp that I used is in here. Let me put this over here so you can see it. Is this, this stem. But I want to create the mask. So again, I have the matte side down, I have my stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. I don't even care if I get a perfect stamp out of this because I'm going to be trimming it. Okay. Oh, I needed to mention something else for you guys. I missed that little corner there. There we go. I forgot to mention something else. Is something wrong, Alan? I'm just wiping up my stamp a little bit. One of the things that, what's wrong, Alan?
Keep going.
What's wrong?
Just want to move this up.
Oh, he's fixing my mic, sorry. One of the things I wanted to mention too is I've talked about putting several of the products that are not LDRS, but things that I use, like my favorites, things that I use a lot, like the purple tape and my scissors. These are my scissors by Fiskars. And what were some of the other things, like the Bristol paper that I use for blending and so on. We have those in the store now. So, and we have a very small supply because I didn't know, I didn't know what people were going to want, and I didn't want to overstock it. So, so we have a very small supply, and if you go to, I think it's like paper and more, and then go to, what does it say, like other, then you're going to find all those things in there. So anyway, I've gone ahead and I have stamped onto my mask paper. Where'd my scissors go? You will see that the scissors that are in the store are orange. I bought these, I'm guessing 10 years ago. That's how good these scissors are. They last forever. And I love them because you can handle them like this. It's really, really nice. So they're fantastic for anybody. I have some arthritis in my hands, and these are really, really precise. I like that they have a very small scissor here. They're extremely sharp. I just love them. So anyway, you're going to get your mask. So you're going to stamp this just like this. And you're going to want to trim this. Now, you're probably saying, well, why don't you cut that with the dies? Because we do have dies in here. Well, the dies are designed to cut a little bit of white around the edge, and we don't want that. Because we're working with a mask, the mask is going to cover a stamped image so that we can layer stamps and make it look like some of the images are in front and some are in back. So in order to do that effectively, we need to cut right on the line. So this is all you're going to do, just like this. And the nice thing is you can use your mask over and over and over again. So trim that all around. This is what you're going to get. And you saw how easy that is to maneuver these scissors. Oh, and there's a lock on here too. So I can just open that up, I can close it, slide that down, and it locks it. Really love these. Lisa's asking if I'll be releasing any Halloween items. Yes, we do have some Halloween stuff coming up in September. Elizabeth is saying, how can you tell the difference between the two stamps? Between the two stamps.
Photopolymer versus...
Oh, well, the acrylic is going to be a little thinner. I mean, it's significantly thinner. And it's not quite as sticky as the photopolymer. The nice thing is you can, either of that, they're going to work very much the same. You saw how beautiful this stamped. It's a lighter weight, and we still got some really fine lines with it. If you lose the stickiness on either of them, you're going to use a little bit of water just to clean any dust off of the back of them.
Do you need to season them or anything like that? Or?
No, these you don't really need. These you don't really need to season like you do the photopolymer. These potentially could. They haven't happened to mine, but I have heard some people say that they've had some acrylic stamps that have yellowed over time. It hasn't happened that I've seen with ours yet, but I'm guessing that's a possibility. I don't know that actually impacts how well they stamp or anything though. So anyway, this is how I cut it out. All right, so you can see mine's a mess because I've actually been using this as a mask, and I leave a little bit of it intact if I can. And then you're just going to peel it back and peel the two layers off of one another. And when you have this all cut, you're going to do it kind of carefully because you don't want to rip it. All right, so this is the glossy one. That one is going to be set aside. This is tacky. So if I put this down on this paper here, you can see it doesn't come off. All right, and it is reusable. Just like a sticky note, so eventually it's not going to be as tacky anymore. So it does lose its tackiness, but you can use it over and over and over again. Okay, and then you can apply your little backer on there, and then you can store that mask and use it over and over again. I store it with my stamps. So let me show you how I created this, and I'm going to use this. So will you be on Stamp and Scrapbook Expo again? Shannon is asking. Yes, but I don't know the date. I can't remember the date right now. But we will, and we will make the announcement on our Facebook group. It's in September 5th. September 5th, I think. Jane is saying, why don't stamp companies design dies to cut without the white border? I think the reason for that is when you have that little bit of a white border, I prefer the white border because it helps it to kind of stand out from the background image. Also, if you don't have that white border on there, your chance of cutting into your image and cutting off some of your stamped line is much greater. And I think you would end up with a lot more that you're throwing away and not able to use. And like I said, I like having that little bit of white because if you have a colored image that if it has a little bit of white and you have a really busy background, which a lot of ours do, it helps it to stand out visually from that background. Okay, so let me get my stamp out again. So I'm going to position this and I'm going to stamp let me go the other way. I'm going to stamp my first stamp. So let's go ahead and ink this up. Just like so. All right, so there's my first stamp. Let me go ahead and clean this up, just because I'm going to be moving it around a little bit. Now, When I talked about the tackiness of this, you saw when I put it on a flat piece of paper, it stuck really, really well. And you also remember when I talked about this particular watercolor paper, it's cold pressed, so it does have some of a bumpiness to it. That bumpiness does make it harder for this to stick to it, simply because it can't grab onto the entire surface really, really well. So you will see me use my magnet on here. So I'm going to put the magnet right down over here. If I were doing this on a flat, smooth piece of paper, this would adhere much better to it. So I just want to explain to you why it's not. So I have the one picture, or the one stamp down. I put my mask over it. Now I can come in and I can stamp right over that one that I have there. I'm going to come in, let me move this over. I'm going to come in on it just a little bit here. So let me go ahead and ink this up. Stamp this down, and you want to press a little extra over that mask, because that mask creates a little bit of a lip between the paper and so you want to make sure that you're stamping, that you're pressing down and getting that stamped image as close as you can. So watch what happens then when I lift this up. Now you can see that because I cut my mask right on that line, or even on the inside of the line, and then I made sure I pressed really good and hard when I stamped the second image. I mean, not super hard, but I had some pressure there. Oh, and because our masking paper is really, really thin, it doesn't create such a big lip there. You can get your lines right up there. And notice it looks now like one of these flowers is in front of the other. That's what masking does for you. So you would keep going through and stamping and doing more of that, and this is what you can end up with. So you can even put your mask down on here and then stamp your stem and your leaves and whatever it is you want to make it look like they're coming from behind the flower. So that's what masking does, and that's why it's so much fun, because you can create a lot of dimension with your stamps. So that is that technique. Now I want to move on, and I want to complete that watercolor image. I'm going to go ahead and put my mask away. I have to put these things away because I don't have a whole lot of space here. I'm kind of surrounded by computers. What are you laughing at?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. If I don't put the stuff away, then I end up with a big mess and I can't find anything. So put aside the things that I've already worked with. I can put my Raven ink away. And what do we have next? Now we're going to do some watercoloring. So I'm going to bring my water back in. Sharon is asking, can you tell us why a company would make an acrylic or make the photopolymer? Well, let me tell you, the photopolymer is only made here in the United States. Our stamps are our photopolymer stamps are all made here in the United States. It is a what is that called when it's a proprietary, I don't know if it's a resin or whatever it is, but they have not been, nobody's been able to duplicate it. So they're only made here in the United States. It is a really, really good high quality. They're wonderful. We like having our stamps made here in the United States. If you're getting an acrylic stamp, they could be made here in the United States. They could also be made overseas. So if that's an issue for you, then that's something to consider. So let's see. I'm grabbing my Caran markers. All right. And I have my little watercolor brushes, and I've already done a lot of the watercoloring here. So let me give you a quick little rundown on the colors that I ended up pulling for my markers. And I gotta tell you too, I did not intend these to look so much like sunflowers. That's just kind of how it happened. I was actually gonna do this and have like some yellow flowers and some orange flowers, and as I started working, I didn't end up doing that. So things change as you're working. So the colors that I have pulled, I have blush, gold, canary, let's put that one aside for now, and amber. These are the 4 colors that I'm using on the flower petals themselves. And I've already done 3 of them, and I started a couple of the other things, and I'm going to take you through this and show you how I do it. So I happen to be using a Winsor & Newton. I like to use a really small round brush. This one is a 000. I would usually use a 000 or a 00 for this. And with this watercolor paper, these markers are just gorgeous. So I like to start, just like I do with my Copics, I like to start light to dark. So my lightest color is my blush. And so I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of define these areas just a little bit. Kind of figure out where I want the color to be. And I'm going, this technique is technically called, it's a wet to dry. So the watercolor itself is wet, my paper is dry. I'm kind of paying attention to the contour, and I'm paying attention to some of the lines that the illustrator has given me. And now, without going too far, I'm just going to blend this out a little bit with my water. I don't like to drop too much color in here to begin with, because I can always add more. It's a little bit harder to remove the color once it's down. I mean, you can remove it, but you're not going to get back to square one with it. When you see me dab onto my my little towel there, my little tea towel, I'm dabbing off some of the water or some of the color. So if I feel like I have too much on there, so again, I'm paying attention to where the illustrator has given me some lines. And right now I'm just kind of saying, where do I want some of those shadows to be? Where do I want my darker spaces to be? And the areas where I want to have some highlight or the lighter color, that's where I'm not dropping any color in. I'm just kind of leaving it white. And I'm not necessarily going for a realistic look. I just want it to kind of look fun, whimsical, blended, but with a little bit of definition to it. I keep dropping into my water to make sure I have a little bit of water on my brush. This one just kind of tucks in, so I'm going to add a little shadow up in that fold and blend that edge out a bit. I got a little fuzz there. And because this is my initial color, I'm not worried about it being too perfect. Because I'm going to be adding other layers. So these are all drying while I'm moving on to my next layers. I'm sorry, to my other petals, not the layers. You want to make sure before you add a second layer of color, you want to make sure that your first layer is completely dry, because you can end up with mud if you don't. Now I've gone outside the line here a little bit, so I'm going to water that down. There you go. Add a little more in here, just kind of planning out where I think some of my shadows might be. And this is one of those things where when I started coloring with Copics and watercolors, because people always say, how do you know where the shadows are supposed to go? Well, first of all, with flowers, I mean, these can be, you know, these petals can all be going in so many different directions. They can be bending and twisting, and but what I started doing, and Alan, I think I used to drive him nuts early on. I started, I would look at everything and I'd be like, oh my gosh, look at the sky, look at all the colors in the sky, and look at how the shadows are on this and the shadows are on that. So if you look at the world around you, it will help to give you a little more perspective of shadows. And it's really interesting when you start paying attention to that, and you start to see how things bend, and how the light really impacts everything. So that's my first layer. Now I'm going to move up to gold because I want to, that's still a little bit, actually feels pretty good in here. So I'm going to move up to gold because I want to strengthen these, but I don't want to completely cover what I've just done. So again, I'm adding wet color to dry. So Patricia is saying, do you have a coloring method that you like more than others? Watercolor, this is my go-to. So when I came upstairs today, I didn't know what I was going to be working on. As you guys know, I'm working out of my home studio during COVID. And when I came up here, I didn't know, let me get some of that color off of there. I didn't know what I was going to work with, and I didn't feel like working with critters, and I really just needed to relax because I have a little bit of a headache today. And watercoloring is my favorite, and so I can just put music on and I can sit and do this and enjoy it. The other day I had Gordon Lightfoot on for you guys when we were getting started, and Alan's probably sick of it by now, but yes, he says. I'm playing it constantly. I am completely in love with my Gordon Lightfoot music again. It's been a while since I've been this obsessed with it, and I'm just playing it constantly, and it's always in my head right now too, and I love it. And I've got like 2 greatest hits collections of his, and I just put it on shuffle, and I just love it. So it's very relaxing for me. Not so much for the others. And you know what's really, really weird is even though I get migraines, like light and sound bother me, like the sound of people's voices and just trying to focus on, you know, like people talking and stuff that can bother my head. But for some reason, music does not. I find it very relaxing and very soothing. I think Alan thinks I'm a little bit nuts. But,
A little?
be nice. So here we go. I'm just kind of finalizing where these shadows are going to be, making them a little bit darker, a little bit deeper, and leaving some white space with these. I think that the white space is really important. Because we want those highlights. But I don't want too much. And, you know, and as this dries, I'll be able to see where it needs to be blended a little bit more. That's another thing I really like about the Karin markers is I can go back and add water within a short amount of time and blend it out a little bit more. Like right in here, it's just not blended very nicely. So let's put some more water in there. Blend out these edges just to soften them a tiny little bit without covering up all of that white. Now, I just laid a second layer on here, and there's a lot of color there, and I used a lot of water. So I'm going to let that be. Let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to move on to this area here. Sue is asking, do you carry the watercolor brushes in the store? That's a, God, boy, you guys are awesome, man. I do not, and I should. I hadn't thought of that. So now I'm dabbing some color in. One of the things with these Karin markers is that they are very intense. Okay, so there's a lot of color. So I literally just dot that in, and when I add some water, look at how that moves. Look how beautiful that is. I literally just dotted a little bit of color in, and I got a ton. So you don't have to color the area in. Okay, I have to let that dry now. I'm going to move on to this little stem. And for this stem, I'm going to use ochre. And the ochre has a little bit of a green to it. So I'm literally just going to add a tiny little bit of color. Let me put a couple little dots in here, right down the side. So I don't have a ton of water on my brush. I love this ochre because it's kind of a greenish brown. I'm getting some color in here. See, I added color before this was really dry. Okay. There we go. I'll put that over with my browns. See how we're doing. Still feels pretty damp. Like cool, I should say, not damp. It's kind of cool. Blowing on a little. It's one of the hard things about doing watercolor when you're live is that you need to make sure it dries really well. All right, that one's dry. So, moving, I'm going to put those yellows aside. So I still have my, where did it go? My canary, that's the one. I'm going to work on this a little bit here. I've got copper brown. That gives me kind of a caramelly color. I'm just going to dot this in because I don't want it to be really heavy. I want to play with that a little bit without being too committed to it. Get some of that water off of there. And now with this really fine little brush, I'm just going to move that around a tiny little bit. Tiny little bit of water on my brush. Move that down a bit. Dry my brush off because I don't want so much water, and I'm just going to move that color up a little bit more so it's really soft. Now this is really, really a bright, bright yellow up top there. That canary is really, really bright. So I ended up putting some of the blush into it over that, just to soften it so it wasn't quite so harsh. All right, very little color in there. Let me get this water off of here. So then my next color to come in is henna, which is a beautiful, beautiful deep dark color. I'm literally dotting this so gently because I don't want a lot. This is such a dark, dark, dark color. So I add a tiny little bit because I can always add more if I don't have enough. But if I have too much, I can't remove it very well. I'm stuck with it. And I don't want to be stuck with it. So I add a little bit to see how I like it. And I do test these like on a little card. I always like test all the colors on the same. I'll just cut like a little piece of my watercolor paper. And I will test the colors to see how I like them together before I commit and start using them on my card. Okay, so I blended that in a bit. Now in order to really have that richness, I'm going to dab it in one more time. And I'm not going to blend it in because I want that deep dark color at the bottom. So that was henna. So I'm going to move my browns off to the side. Actually, I'm going to pull this ochre one more time. Get a little bit more, a little bit darker in here. Tiny bit of color. Just pull that up just a little bit. There we go. All right, so the last color we're going to add on this flower is amber. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing that I did before, except I want only a tiny little bit of this.
Do we want to zoom maybe?
Huh?
Yeah,
We could zoom a little bit. Shannon is saying, what is the name and number of the brush? It's a Winsor & Newton. Let me put this up here.
How's that?
That's good. Let me put it down over here maybe. Go up it. That's good. Winsor & Newton, and it's a 000. It's a round. Notice it says round over here. 000 round Winsor & Newton. This is my go-to. This is what I use all the time. Cindy is saying, when will you be getting more card markers in stock? Their shipping is delayed. They are on order. We don't expect them to ship for maybe another 3 to 3.5 weeks. Their shipping was tremendously delayed on them. Sheila is asking, do you ever use one of those drying tools or carry them in the store? I don't. I would rather, here's the thing, once you start adding heat to this, the heat, especially when you have something wet, the heat is going to cause your paper to bend because it causes it to kind of constrict and tighten, just like how your clothes shrink in the dryer. I don't want my paper to shrink. So I will walk away from it if I have to, if I can't leave it alone. I will walk away from it and let it dry on its own. So no, I don't use the dryer. I mean, I guess in some mixed media things I might do that to speed something up, but not when I'm using watercolors like this, I wouldn't. So I literally just dotted some of this orange in here. Look at this orange, it is so gorgeous. So pretty. Get a little more orange up in there. Blend these edges just a little bit so they kind of blend together more. So pretty. I love it. I love how you see it makes it look like it's bending. Tiny little dotting in here. You don't need a lot. It is so richly pigmented. I love these. Any more questions, Alan?
Not that I've seen so far.
Okay.
You're
What?
inspiring people to try it.
Oh, good. I hope so. It's a lot of fun. I mean, just like anything else, Alan said I'm inspiring people to try it, and I hope so. Watercoloring is so relaxing. And there are different techniques. I have another watercolor video that I did that's actually on our YouTube channel. And with that one, I think I was working more with a wet to wet technique. This is more of a wet to dry technique. Wet to wet is where you wet the area of the paper first. I'm trying to remember exactly what I did on that one. I can't remember right now.
I don't think you did the second one.
I did not do a second one yet. We've been busy.
The second one was going to be faces or something?
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet. Alan's reminding me that I promised to do a watercolor class with faces, with like people and clothes and stuff like that, and I haven't gotten that far yet. We've been so busy. I think I'm actually busier during COVID than we were before.
Yes.
But it's fun what we're doing. So you can see how easily these things blend out. Your paper really does make a difference, and you have to remember that your paper is one of your tools. Let me blend this a little bit better in here because I can see that I'm getting kind of a rough edge, so I'm just going in with a little bit more water. These markers are very, very forgiving, the paint is, and I like that about them. It's really good if you have one of these tiny little brushes too, because it gives you a lot more control. You don't end up picking up so much water that you can't control it. All right. Come in here a bit. Literally just dotting some in here because you don't need a lot. It looks like so much more now that we're zoomed in. Because you guys are seeing it even bigger than it actually is now on the screen. Oops, too much water. When you see a big droplet of water on your brush, you might have too much water. Ease this edge here a tiny little bit, soften the colors together with a little bit of water. Okay. The nice thing about having this deep orange, it's such a nice contrast, and it helps me to, I can see it really nicely when I put that color down. Sometimes when you're working with colors that are so close together, you look and you're like, where did I just dot that color in? Especially, when your eyes are as old as mine. There we go. We're almost done here. Don't be afraid to turn your image instead of twisting your arm trying to get to areas. Turn your image instead. Soften these little edges in here. All right, and now I want to, actually I'm going to come into the center here with a little bit of orange where I've got that white. Just to complete that. And I'm going to add a little bit of orange in here as well. And I'm not going to blend this in because I don't want it to blend in with that brown that I put down there. So then you end up with mud if you start doing that. Okay? So I think those look really pretty. I think it looks great. Liz is saying, the markers bring a blender pen. Do I ever use the blender pen? The blender pen, I think, is used when you're going to create your own colors. So you can, kind of like with your Copics, how you go tip to tip and you can create your own colors. You can kind of do, you can do that with the blender pen as well that comes with these. I haven't done it yet, but I believe that's what it does. Okay, so now I'm going to add some color into the background here. And where's the little, here it is. I have a little piece of acetate, and now I'm going to do kind of a wet to wet technique. So I'm going to change brushes, and I have a much thicker brush. This is a number 4, and it's just a nice big fat brush. Okay, and I'm going to start, I've got 2 colors here. I chose Cool Aqua and then Egyptian Blue, which you got to use sparingly. We're going to see how this works. I'm going to hope and pray I don't really screw this up. We're going to see. So On my acetate here, I'm going to color some of my marker, okay? Let me try and get this into the camera here. I've got my water here. So with my brush, now this is where you got to be really careful. I'm going to add water to my paper. And then I'm going to add water into my color. And I'm going to start adding that into my picture. Very carefully. I think this might be too bright for you guys to see it because I don't want to go really dark with it. There's my color. Add water as needed because you don't want this to dry out and give you a weird edge. But you also don't want it to pool and be uncontrollable. Okay. I'm going to put some of my darker blue in here too. And just kind of mix a little bit of that in to make it look really pretty. Kind of muddled with the two colors a bit. Kind of here and there. Drop some in the areas, but I don't want to rub this over my picture. I wish you guys could see better the colors I've got going on here. Let me dim this down a bit. So now I'm coming in with just white, just water.
Yeah, it's not showing up as dark as it is, but
Yeah, even Alan's saying it's not showing up as bright as it actually is. I don't want to go so dark that it looks bad though. Some of that darker blue into there a little bit. This is just kind of giving me like a loose kind of a watercolor effect in the background. Just kind of finishes it a little. I'm going to add some water up in here. Got a little fuzz. Come into this area where I stopped working with my color. But I want to steer clear. I don't want to be blending into my flower here. Get a little bit of that darker blue. Mix that around in there a little bit. You have any questions, Alan?
yes.
Now that you are doing wet on wet, how do you keep the paper from warping? It's a good question. Don't oversaturate it.
Is it the paper?
Hmm?
Is it the quality of paper?
Yes, this is an excellent quality paper. This is a thick paper. Strongly recommend this paper. Put some down in here. I need some more of the aqua. So I just did some more of the aqua over here. A little water. Sorry, I'm not talking, I'm focusing. Trying not to get anything wrong here. I don't want to be blending green in with it and stuff. From my little leaf there, or not leaf, but the stem.
How did you stamp the flowers in black?
Yes, the flowers were stamped in the Raven.
Right, okay.
Everything was stamped in Raven. Now, you can stamp in a different color if you wanted to do, have a look that maybe it's more of a no-line painting. Then you could have gone with like an iced tea. That would have been really pretty to use that color.
With the colors you use, that would have been
Oh yeah, that would have been really, really pretty. I think when I did the other video, I think I actually used iced tea to stamp it. Okay. So let me wipe this up. This is my darker blue. This is where I'm going to stamp a sentiment, so I'm not going to add any more into there. I'm going to let that be. But I do have some areas where I want to get a little more of the darker blue in there, just for kind of a bit of contrast and fun and interest.
Here's a question, and you got 3 minutes.
I've got 3 minutes and a question. Okay. All right, so we're going to leave this at this point. Would the masking paper hold up to water if you masked all the flowers and did a wash over the top? No, it is just a paper, so I would not saturate that mask paper in water. It's glossy on one side, but it's not a waterproof paper by any means. Okay, Alan, can you zoom back out?
Yeah.
Let's see if we're dry here. That is still wet. I'm reluctant to stamp the sentiment yet. This is still pretty wet. I didn't think well enough ahead on that.
Maybe you could stamp it on something else and lay it on there.
Well, I think I can stamp it after the fact, and I'll show you what my plan is with it. So, because I'm not building this up too much. So, here is my card base. So this is just cut from regular. Oh, I still have to. Okay, this is just cut from regular cardstock. A little frayed on the edges. It is 8 1/4, 6 1/2, and then scored at 3 1/4. So when folded, it ends up being the exact size of our slimline die topper, which is 8 1/4 by 3 1/4. And so I ended up pulling, this was my thinking, I really thought that I really wanted to make this just kind of fall and fun. So I used the 2 outer dies, and it's going to look like this when I'm done. Isn't that just adorable? I love how it frames it. So I'm going to go ahead and this isn't so, oh, that's pretty wet over there. You know what? I'm going to do it this way. There we go. So let's put the topper down. Lay that flat. And notice I put on the outer side and then I put right down the middle too, because I want to make sure that that holds really, really well. And it's still wet. We're going to see how well this works. I'm going to go ahead with my tape gun. We do have these tape guns in the store as well as the refills, but it actually comes, the tape gun itself comes with 2 of the tape rolls. We've discounted all of these items by 10% already in the store, by the way, too. 10% off of retail. So you guys get a discount on everything. I'm just pulling the tape where I kind of over taped it over the scallops. And I'm pulling that tape back in because I didn't go really straight in some of these areas. So I'm literally just rolling the tape back. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to put, this is how I do this. I lay this, I put something in the way because I don't want to lower this whole thing down onto my card if it's not straight. So I take the time to straighten it by having something in the way so it doesn't just flop down on my card.
Where's that gingham from?
The gingham, this gingham paper is from the, yeah, it's from the Sweet Sensations 12 by 12 paper pack. I have that linked below the YouTube video. But let me show you what it is. This is the 12 by 12 Sweet Sensations. It's fantastic. I use these papers on a lot of my projects, and it's this one right here, that little gingham. I even made a little envelope. We have this envelope template. If you go out to, on our website, it says like papers and more, and then there's a tab there that says, I think it says digital templates or something like that. You can just download this template for free, and there's little instructions on there, and you can print it out, and you can make your own envelopes. So let me see. That actually feels pretty good now. So this is my card. I'm going to go ahead and do the sentiment. Everything's got magnets all over the place here. I'm going to go ahead and get this done. All right. So we're over time just by a couple of minutes. I'm not going to worry about that. I wanted to use the Have a Lovely Day. So let's see if that will fit now that I've added that border. I think it will. Is that straight? I think it's straight. Something I'm going to do, I'm going to open this up because I think I might have it stacked up too high. There we go. All right. I hope that's straight. I can't really tell. I can't get my head over it. You guys don't want to see the top of my head, right? All right, and I'm going to stamp it with my Raven Hybrid ink. Get that really good and inky. See how this does. I might have to stamp it a second time just because I'm going over another medium. It actually stamped beautifully. Oh, how pretty. I'm going to go one more time just in case. So it's really sharp. Oh, that is gorgeous. Seriously gorgeous. I think it's really pretty. I love it when things work out. That looks so pretty. I love it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous fall card. I love that gingham. I love the orange and the yellow in there. And then we have that beautiful green, the gorgeous blue sky behind it. It's almost like we're taking a zoomed in photo of the flowers in our garden. I just think it's so pretty. So I'm very, very happy with it. I hope you guys like it. Yay. I think it turned out pretty nice. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera back. Yay. I like it when things work out. I'm so happy with that. I think it came out really, really pretty. So hopefully, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't boring watching me paint. I never know how that's going to come across. But anyway, we have a giveaway to do. And I thought that it would be fun to give away, where is it? We're actually going to give away the Bloomin' Bugs. This is a stamp and die set that I used, and we're gonna put some of the stamping mask paper in there as well. So you're gonna get both of these, so you guys can make your own card. Yay! So Alan, we need a name.
You need a name, okay.
Lisa Rolova. I know that name. Lisa Rolova, you have won. How exciting. So you get the Blooming Bugs stamp and die set. You also get the stamping mask paper. And all I need from you is your address. So, Alan, if you will do us the honors of please typing out the email address, which is, what is it? Customer service at LDRScreative.com. I need your complete mailing address so we can get these out in the mail to you. Yay! And then you can make your own card. How much fun. I'm really happy with this. You know, you never know when you start working on something if it's going to turn out, and I'm really pleased that it did. So that was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for joining us this Thursday. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I don't know what you guys have planned. I don't even know if we have anything planned. I know we're going to be working because actually somebody mentioned the Stamp and Scrapbook Expo earlier, and we've got some preparing to do for that this weekend. So that's going to be fun. I get to do some crafting there. So anyways, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. We will be back here next Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube, please. That would be fantastic because it lets us know that you guys enjoy it. And that also means that you'll get a notification in your email when we're going live. So that's pretty cool. And we also put other videos out here too, out on YouTube. Oh, and you can join our Facebook group as well. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope it wasn't boring for you. Anyway, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.